Have you ever wondered if it's possible to visit the afterlife without actually dying? The saying goes that you can only go to heaven or hell if you're actually dead. But this is not entirely true. You can indeed have a brief visit to the afterlife and meet your dead friends, relatives, or even meet God. Sounds good, right? But there's one catch. It's not exactly easy. Many who have returned changed as individuals. Some even chose to take their own lives afterwards. Many lost their sanity, and only a small percentage remained what you'd call sane after their journey. Even though all refused to describe what they saw, I'm different. I've been to both heaven and hell several times, and in this article I'm going to describe how to visit hell and meet some of your dead relatives that have sinned throughout their mortal lives. For the journey, you'll need to be a well-rounded individual with strong mentality. Otherwise, you'll not be able to cope with what you see. Most importantly, you will need to have killed somebody at least once in your life before you try this. First, you head to the nearest church from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. on a Sunday night. If the door is locked, gain entry somehow. If impossible, then try a second closest church. Once inside, approach the altar and kneel down in praying position. Then in a monotone voice, repeat the following scripture clearly. Vola visceri terram uba crucible. If done correctly, you should fall asleep instantly and wake up in your room. On the edge of your bed should be a piece of paper. On the piece of paper, there should be a link to a website. This link varies from person to person. Find an old computer with no fucking internet connection or any means of communication to the outside world. You don't want the most horrifying demons imaginable knowing your location after all. Boot up the computer and load up an internet browser and enter the link. Despite the lack of internet connection, you should be directed to a black page with a hyperlink in the middle, stating your name and date of death. Whatever you do not click on the hyperlink. Instead, save the page and view the HTML file in Notepad. Scroll to the bottom of the document and there should be an address. Make sure you write it down. Once you're finished with the computer, take it as far away as you can. Destroy it and never return to the church you visited again. A week later, visit the address you wrote down, and it should be an old abandoned warehouse that was never there before. Do not enter the building yet, but instead knock on the door exactly 6 times. If any more or less, you will be greeted by the devil himself, and you will be damned to a place far worse than hell. If all goes well, an old man should open the door and hand you a blank CD with the words HELL.EXE written on it. Run this on another PC you're willing to sacrifice with no inward or outward communications. On the CD should be 2 files, Diablo.jpg and HELL.EXE. Do not fucking view Diablo JPEG. It'll cause you to rip your eyes out. Don't worry, it doesn't have a thumbnail. Just run HELL.EXE. Instantly your monitor should start flickering, and gruesome pictures of the mutilated corpses of your dead relatives should flash quickly on and off your screen. Then a window should pop up with 2 buttons, one saying come and one saying leave. Now is your last chance to turn back. If you want to visit hell, then click on come. If not, click leave, and you will fall unconscious and wake up in your bedroom with no memory HELL.EXE even existed, and all evidence of its existence will be lost. If you choose come, the window will close and the computer will spontaneously combust along with the CD. Don't leave the room you're in. Just let the flame spread until the heat knocks you unconscious. You should wake up in a hospital bed in a dark room with no clothes on. Do not get out of bed, just lay there. After about 5 minutes, 2 people should enter the room. I can't be any clearer on this. Just keep your eyes tight shut when they approach your bed. If you look at them even once, they will rip you to pieces. They will discuss in familiar voices how unfortunate your death was, and describe it in complete detail. This applies to the date of death you found on the website. Cover your ears if you do not want to hear your own fate. Afterwards, they should leave the room hastily. Wait about 10 minutes and exit the room. Once you've exited the room, you should be in a very long corridor with lights out. Start walking down the corridor. Once you've walked about 3 kilometers, all the lights should turn on. When this happens, run. Run as fast as you can down the corridor until you reach the fire escape door. Throw yourself through the door at full force, and then slam the door shut behind you as soon as you burst through. You are now in limbo. Your surroundings should be a large desert-like wasteland with no signs of life. Search the vast emptiness for a sharp rock or cliff edge, something you could use to end your own life, as in order to reach the gates of hell you need to kill yourself in limbo. Be cautious when exploring. Even though this isn't hell, there are some monsters lurking about in caverns that will try to turn you into one of them. They are not as dangerous as the monsters you encounter in hell. These are just unbaptized souls cast into limbo to spend eternity endlessly exploring the dark, endless cavern system. Before killing yourself, you must remove your eyes from their sockets and deafen yourself somehow. You should only have your sense of touch, taste, and smell left. You cannot ever see or hear hell, if you value your sanity, that is. Don't worry. Once you return to the human world, you will have all your senses back. When you wish to leave hell, simply shout this Latin phrase as loud as you can. Est non satis. I can't give any more instructions, because I feel that if I give any more information, I'll be putting myself at risk. But there is somebody who records their findings, a man named Ian McGowan. He successfully went to hell and returned. After he returned, he brutally murdered most of his family and then hung himself. When they found his body, there was a note in his possession. In this note, he describes what he saw in detail. Ian's note. If you're reading this, then I've done the unforgivable. I have killed the people I care about the most in the worst possible way, but I did it to save them from a fate far worse than a painful death. Last week I tried to visit my dead father in hell. He was a raging alcoholic that would come home drunk from the pub and beat me and my mother. He died of liver disease when I was 13. I wanted to see him get what he deserved. What I saw in hell was something mortals should never experience in their lifetimes. After blinding, deafening, then finally killing myself in that fucking wasteland, I awoke in what felt like a furnace. It was so excruciatingly hot and I couldn't move. I began to hear voices in my head and they all said the same thing. Help me. The voices were of so many people I knew that had died. The voices grew louder and louder and my surroundings got hotter and hotter until everything stopped. I then saw something that I cannot begin to describe. I saw every sin and act of violence, greed, bloodlust, and gluttony played out all at the same time in my head. I felt the worst feeling of melancholy I have ever experienced in my life. I felt as if nothing mattered anymore. Then when he arrived, suddenly my sight returned, but all I could see was darkness. But then something appeared in front of me. I can't describe its appearance, but all I can say is it was not human or even a recognizable being. But it was an entity of pure, unadulterated terror. I knew this was the devil. He talked to me telepathically, not in any recognizable language, but I somehow fully understood what he was saying. He told me the fate of the universe and what I must do, my duty. I owe him my soul. 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 The rest of the page is unreadable and covered in what appears to be blood.